Welcome into In the Trenches with myself, Tanner Kern, joined alongside former CFL defensive lineman Maxx Forde, breaking down the biggest mismatches in the trenches and DFS value defenses as we do week after week. Max, it's already week 17. It's flown by.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've been talking about that since like the first month of the season. Like it seems like it flies by, and now here we are at the end, and lo and behold, feels like it's probably just been a couple of weeks here. But yeah, we're getting down to that fun part of the year where games determine who's going to win championships. So
Definitely. Yeah. And it's the last chance to win money on NFL DFS for a while.
Yep.
We're coming up on those limited slates left and all that. So
Yep.
make sure you guys tune in today as we talk our value DFS defenses. But before we do that, we're starting with our biggest mismatch, Philadelphia Eagles defense going against the Dallas Cowboys offense. Now, interesting spot coming into this one. The Dallas Cowboys offense looked really good against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a game that Tampa probably should have won, but Dallas earned it, and Dallas came out and played really hard. On the flip side, you got the Philadelphia Eagles defense, who were put in a tough predicament because Devontae Smith dropped a pass at the end of the Commanders game, which put them back on the field. But still inexcusable for Philly to allow the Commanders to go down the field and score and win the game in walk-off fashion. So, Max, why do you think this is such a mismatch for a Philly team that didn't look great going against a Dallas team that seems to be picking up on offense?
Yeah, I just don't want to overreact too much to a single week. My priors are still the Philadelphia defense is good. They've been playing really good ball over the last month plus, like particularly good ball. And this 1 week against the Commanders, obviously they didn't perform to their standard. But I do think that when you have a game like that, the truly good defenses, they don't have two bad games in a row. So I think this is a spot where they can bounce back. And on the flip side of that, I do think the Cowboys, they did play well, but the teams that maybe aren't as good, it's hard to string together two games in a row where you play well. So I still believe in the Eagles defense based on the body of work. And the guys they got up front, man, I know we've talked about it. They got that good blend of youth and experience. Got guys making plays. Jalen Carter, again, even though they didn't play so well this weekend, I saw a clip of him on Twitter earlier today talking about calling out before the play. He saw the light hand on the guard, and so he knew the pull was coming, pull away from him, and so he just kind of skated behind, got back there and forced the fumble. And it's just that kind of stuff. As a defensive lineman, you get excited seeing that kind of stuff, and especially from a younger guy to be able to sit there, analyze that before the play, because a lot of the younger guys are just going out there and trying to use that physicality that they have. But he's seeing the game well. He's making plays because of it. You've got older guys there too, like the experienced guys, like I said, and probably learning from some of those guys like Fletcher Cox that have seen a thing or two over 15 or so years. So just really like that defensive front. I think it's a good spot against Dallas, who did play well this past week, but still I don't think that they're an elite offense by any means, especially with Cooper Rush at the helm. So I like the spot.
Yeah, and a couple things to talk about here. Jalen Carter, the personal fouls, the late hits. He's getting that reputation around the league now. As a defensive lineman, and I don't know what your playing style was, but what would be your recommendation to Jalen Carter? Because the personal foul that he had for the late hit against the Commanders didn't really look like that. It was more something that refs are just keeping an eye on him because he's been getting out a lot of times. But what would be your recommendation there to not get those flags but still be play physical?
Yeah, well, first, you can't gain that reputation, because once you have the reputation, like you said, the referees are watching for it. So you maybe think borderline that maybe you get away with if you have a cleaner reputation. You're not getting away with those. And so, like, I was always a guy. The other thing was, like, I hated it. Happened way too often when I was playing. When you're playing on defense, you get to third down, third and long. You get a play, get off the field, and you have like one of those personal fouls or late hits or something that didn't affect the play. Now you're keeping the offense on the field. You're staying out there. That stuff is just, it kills you as a defense. You can't take that hit if you think that it's going to be borderline. I will say it's a lot tougher than when I was coming up, because the way you can hit guys has changed a lot over the last 15 or so years. Like I remember in high school. Back in like late 2000s, not just before 2010s. I don't know what to call that decade, but back then Yeah, like I would take maybe an extra step or two and still hit the quarterback, but you can't do those kinds of things anymore. The game's changed a little bit, so it's a little bit harder. Where I remember at the end of my career when I was playing up in Canada, there was a chance I had to hit the quarterback on a play, and yeah, I got back there. I saw he was releasing the ball, and so I kind of let up, but then I felt like it looked really bad on film because it looked like he stiff armed me, but I was like not trying to hit him because I didn't want to get a penalty. So it's like kind of one of those things where it's a hard deal. When you play hard, sometimes they happen on accident, but if yeah, as much as you can, you just gotta try to stay on the side of caution to not hurt your defense, but you can't be so cautious that you lose the edge, because defensive lineman, you gotta have an edge. If you don't got an edge, then probably play on the offense.
I don't know about that. I think offense, we can be physical on offense. Can't be it's a different kind of physical, obviously. But my biggest thing for offensive lineman, I hate to see this, is when defensive linemen get hits on the quarterback that shouldn't be late hits. Like the worst one, I think, is when you drive a quarterback into the ground. Because if you're a 300-pound defensive lineman or a 250-pound defensive lineman or a linebacker, it doesn't matter, and you're coming full force into a quarterback, what do you want to do? You got to like put your hands out to try to not fall on them. You're still putting your full body weight into them. So those are the worst kind of penalties I've seen in the NFL this year. It's getting pretty annoying because there's sometimes it's just like, man. Now, if you're on the right side of it, like if you're on it from a betting standpoint or something, but it gets to everybody. It's not football in the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't love it. It is the way it's going. Like there's nothing you can do as a player to change that, but it is frustrating. It's like one of those things, like, what have they done to the game I love, kind of a thing. Like, I still love the game, but it's just do miss taking a few of those liberties that used to be able to get away with, that now it's you can't get away with natural physics. So it's kind of tough.
I mean, you watch some of the old NFL highlight tapes, like the big hit tapes that used to be allowed and celebrated. Like you'd be thrown in jail in today's world. You do 2 of those in a season, you're going to get fined a significant amount of money. Now, back in the day, I don't know if you ever have you watched Swamp Kings on Netflix?
I haven't. One of my old BC teammates is in there, but I haven't watched it yet. I need to.
I forget. It was one of the D-backs for Florida. Major Jordan, I think it was. And he was like, instead of going for the ball, I decided to run. Not Major Jordan. I forget what his name was, but
I saw the clip. I did see the. I didn't watch the show. I saw. Yeah, I love that one.
It's like I decided to, instead of going for the ball, I decided to run straight through the receiver and instill fear in him. It's like you could never do that in the world.
Completely different game.
Yeah, completely different game. But anyways, Max, on the flip side of this, we're moving into our DFS budget plays. You got the Dallas Cowboys defense going against the Philadelphia Eagles offense. Dallas is healthy now. They are a much better unit that they have showed all season long. Obviously, recording this on Monday, so we don't have a current price data. But just from a standpoint, why do you like the Cowboys against the Philadelphia Eagles offense that probably – I mean, Jalen Hurts probably isn't in, but you never know. Yeah. And how does that change your opinion on this Eagles offense?
Yeah, and so first and foremost, I do want to say this is not a bet against the Eagles offensive line because they are one of the elite units in the NFL. But we're choosing here without price data to begin with, so I'm kind of picking the ones that I think are going to be lower priced. And obviously, the Eagles are an offense that normally you'd expect to see a defense going against them have a lower price. And like you said, I do also expect that Jalen Hurts is probably out. If he is, Kenny Pickett looked pretty decent in relief this last weekend. But I think if you're a defense, you have a week to prepare for Kenny Pickett instead of trying to like spy on Jalen Hurts. It's a little bit different, probably game plan and all that. And not to say that Kenny Pickett can't run. I remember going back to the late hit discussion and fake slides that's been prevalent recently. That fake slide he had at Pitt back in college annoyed the hell out of me. But so he can run a little bit, I'll say that, but he's not Jalen Hurts. And so you have a little bit different game plan probably going in if you know that it's likely he's going to play. And I also think it's a little bit easier to come in sometimes. It depends on the player, but sometimes it's easier to come in without the expectation because you're like just thrown into the fire. You don't have time to think about what's going on. Whereas now if he's going through a week of practice, It's kind of counterintuitive. You think that should help, but sometimes that can get to a guy. And so I do think it's different if you have Kenny Pickett in there. And the Dallas Cowboys defense is playing better football. They're still not at the level that they were last year, where it seemed like they were just big play after big play, but they still get some good turnovers. They've been getting turnovers a lot and getting to the quarterback, obviously, with that defensive front. So I think this is one that of the plays that I think are probably going to be under 3,000 this week. I think this is a good one. And always, like we talk about, division games too. You never know what's going to happen. So.
Yeah, and the biggest thing for me in this game specifically, if Kenny Pickett is on the field, this Eagles offense looks totally different. We saw that. And Jalen Hurts has been good this year, but he's been, people have criticized Jalen Hurts a lot. But it's amazing how much different this offense looked without him. It's a totally different product. So I think it's a good spot for the Cowboys to step up and make some plays defensively, as good as the Eagles offensive line is and is always. Look at the next play here, Max. Minnesota Vikings defense. They pulled off the Camp Rock celebration at the end of the Seahawks game this week. That was pretty wild there. Going against the Green Bay Packers offense. Did you see the clip of them like in the hotel for walkthrough practice in their celebration?
I didn't catch that one.
Yeah, they were going through their whole Camp Rock celebration and ended up paying off as they did it with the game-winning pick. Looking at this game against the Packers offense here, now recording this on Monday as the slate starts early this week with Christmas, so we're still waiting on what the Packers do tonight. But pending we get a healthy Packers team, Max, why do you like Minnesota in this spot?
Yeah, again, well, this one is a bet on Minnesota. They've been one of our top defenses all year long, generating picks, creating turnovers in all capacities, getting to the quarterback. They've just really thrived under Brian Flores there, which, Van Ginkel, man, like he's had a research. I remember when he was in Miami, he was a guy that he showed up sometimes, but like now he's really come into his own as a really good player. You just got so many guys that have been making plays the entire year. A lot of defensive touchdowns, and I just think this is the defense that makes you earn it. They make you stay on the field and sustain drives, which isn't an easy thing to do. I think that's the sign of a good defense. Like sometimes they'll let up yards, but if they make you have to put together a 10, 12, 15 play drive to score, offenses a lot of times will beat themselves if you make them sustain a drive for that long. They don't give up the explosives, the big plays that end up in those quick points usually. And so I think going against Green Bay, I think that Green Bay matchup is, again, we're projecting what the price is going to be. I think this one probably is going to be hovering around 3,000. So maybe might end up being like 3,100 or something like that. Because playing the Green Bay offense with Jordan Love and that set of receivers they got out there, normally you get a lower price, but with Minnesota, you also get a higher price. So I'm thinking it's going to be right there in our budget play range, and I do think Minnesota just has a defense that can play with anybody.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. They've been fantastic, especially forcing turnovers, and that's something that we want to look at for our DFS defenses week after week. Another interesting one here: Las Vegas defense versus the New Orleans Saints offense. I think hot take here. I think the Saints offense is better than people think, and I know we're recording this on Monday, but I think the Saints being a 14-point road underdog tonight is wild, considering the Packers are good. But I see the Saints covering that number. What about you? Just a quick Monday Night Football prediction here.
I think I might. I know, we've talked about I'm supposed to be the Saints guy on the show, but I might disagree with you on that one tonight. I think the Packers might cover. I'm just not encouraged with what they've got. They're so injured right now too. And I know everybody's injured. It's the NFL. Everybody is hurt, but they've got a lot of important players on their offense that are missing. Obviously, the quarterback. So looking like we're seeing Spencer Rattler. You're missing Olave. Missing Rashid Shaheed for most of the season, like both those guys for most of the season. It's just missing Kamara tonight as well. Just you're missing a lot of the guys. So you're asking a lot of the backups of a team that had lost 6, 7, 8 straight at one point this season before they fired their coach. And I just I do think it might be hard for them to get points on the board. If they do, I think you're looking at maybe Kendra Miller having a bit of a game tonight. Juwan Johnson, another guy who's hurt, Taysom Hill, like their Swiss Army knife. So we're talking about like an entire offensive skill position, and their offensive line. They invested in a bit this offseason, but just it's not awful, but it's not good. I'd say kind of in that league average kind of bunch there. So it's just, I think it could get ugly against Green Bay. So like I said, I think they might cover, but it is the NFL. 14 points is a little bit disrespectful, but like I said, I still think I might take Green Bay on that.
Yeah, I think it could go really good or really bad here, but I would rather have Spencer Rattler than Jake Haener. That's one thing I'd much rather have. Yeah. So Rattler can do something. I think Kendra Miller's going to be really fun to watch tonight too. I think the guy that can help take over a game a little bit, and he's been good when he gets his opportunities. So 5 yards of carry last week against the Commanders. We'll see what he can do here, but you're going next week, Las Vegas defense against New Orleans Saints offense here, Max. What's your reasoning for taking Vegas? They just probably lost the number one pick with a win on Sunday. So you can keep it going defensively.
Yeah, so a lot of it has to do with what I just said about the Saints offense. Don't want to retread it. But then also, I do think that the Raiders have been playing decent ball for a team with their record. Not going to sit here and say that they're a top team in the league, because they're not. But a lot of times a team with that record, you get to week 16, week 17. We talked about it last week. It's easy to see those teams kind of fold. You're not seeing that with Vegas. You're not seeing that with Jacksonville either, as another team that I've kind of noticed that isn't really a good team, but they're still competing. And so, you got a team that's still competing like that. And like I said, I just named all the reasons maybe you want to go against the Saints offense. So I think that is kind of what I'm going with in this play here. But also the Raiders, I think 3 out of the last 4 weeks haven't been allowing a lot of points, which they don't get the most turnovers either, which I know we want in DFS. But if they're not allowing all the points, you at least have that floor of, I'm not getting blown out, I'm not getting the negative points. And so, 3 out of the last 4 weeks, they've held their opponent under 20 points, I want to say, which includes Kansas City there. So, which I know we always talk about too. Kansas City isn't the 2020 Kansas City or 2019 or whichever year there, but still, I do think they're playing good football. And when we talk about the backup quarterbacks there with the Saints, in games that they've started, I think they've averaged like 1.5 turnovers each, between the two of them combined. So even though Las Vegas doesn't necessarily generate the most turnovers, I think New Orleans gives it away a little bit, especially with those backups back there. So maybe a chance for points there as well. Yeah,
no, definitely. I like the thinking here too. And it's the Vegas defense, underrated, has been solid at times this season. I know they don't have Maxx Crosby playing anymore, but you got to look at the teams that play hard at these times of the year. And I think that's another thing. The Raiders are still playing hard. That's something going into this game that you can hang your hat on if you are going to start them from a DFS defense perspective. Max, looking at Dallas, Minnesota, and Las Vegas, I know we don't have prices here, but if you're picking one, who is it and why?
Yeah, I think they're probably going to come out with the highest price out of those, I'm guessing, just based on who they are. But I think it's going to be Minnesota. They are playing a tough offense there. But when I can play Minnesota defense at a reduced price, it's one that I like to play.
I do like Minnesota as well. I think the underrated pick and one that I like is Vegas. But if I don't have Jalen Hurts on the field and it's Kenny Pickett, I think the Dallas defense is definitely a move there. I mean, Tampa Bay had opportunities against them. They did eat them up at times, but overall the turnovers that they were able to force and then combine that with this being a division game, I'm going to favor the Dallas defense out of the three.
Yep. I am interested to see where the prices come out, because maybe if you're listening to this on Tuesday or something like that, maybe my answer would have been different. But yeah, right now I'm sticking with Minnesota there.
Definitely. So, Max, looking at the one game you're most excited about watching this week, what would it be and why?
Yeah, I think it's going to be that Minnesota Green Bay game, just because you do have a division game there as well that has a lot at stake. Obviously, both are trending towards being playoff teams there. Well, Minnesota's already in, but yeah, there's a lot at stake there. They know each other well. That's always fun to watch, and I just think that, yeah, that's a game that you can expect to see some fireworks. I think if you would have asked me back in week 1 what I would expect to say this week, definitely would have thought I would be talking about the Lions and the Niners, but it's been a weird year for the Niners, and I think that'll still be a fun game. But it's just, I'm a little bit sad that it's not what I expected it would be back when the season started, because yeah, you got your last year's 2 NFC championship contenders there, and second to last weekend of the year. That seemed like it was probably going to be a big explosive one for the conference, like for home field advantage maybe, but it's definitely not that.
No, definitely not. I'm looking forward to Christmas Day, seeing Lamar on Christmas Day. I think that'll be fun, and the MVP race looks to be a little tighter now after Josh Allen had his rough outing against the Patriots. It's amazing too how these award markets change after one game. Like now was heavy favorite, now it's down to not a pick 'em, but if Lamar has a good game on Christmas, you can make a case for Lamar too. Also interested to see if the Steelers can knock off the Chiefs on Christmas Day. That'll also be another really fun game to watch. So those are two that I have my eye on.
Yeah, they did do a good job of getting the holiday schedule down this year.
I don't even know how they're doing 3 games and how many days. Like playing on a Saturday and then a Wednesday is that's brutal. I have no clue. It's not safe. The product's probably gonna be sloppy, but they did put really good teams in there that with coaches that are gonna take it seriously. Like the scheduling was done on purpose, I'm sure, to have Harbaugh, Andy Reid, Mike Tomlin and D'Amico Ryans going on Christmas Day, because at least those coaches are going to get their guys to play a football game.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, all 4 of those guys are, well, shoot, you got 3 guys that have been around forever and have always had good teams, and then D'Amico Ryans has obviously done a lot in a little bit of time, so gained a lot of respect and had a lot of respect as a player as well. So those are definitely 4 coaches that you look at, that they're going to give you your best every time.
Definitely. Well, that was In the Trenches for week 17, guys. We'll be back next week for week 18 to wrap up the regular season. We appreciate you joining us. Good luck with your DFS and bets this weekend, and we will talk to you next week for another episode of In the Trenches.
Happy holidays.